growing up here was totally different than now. How goes it? Bishop, Migizi Gikinoo'amaagew Inini Anishinaabe Mississaugas Nabinjiba. What I said is my spirit name, which is Eagle, Bald Eagle, Teacher Man. Inini is male, and my totem is Migizi, Bald Eagle, and I'm from Mississaugas, the Credit.
I'm Bryan LaForme, member of the Mississauga Credit First Nation. Born and raised here. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I left home when I was 17. I turned 17 in September, and I was in basic training in October, and went overseas shortly after basic training and spent some time overseas, and I spent 3 years overseas. And I got out, I went in 1962 and got out in 1968.
I was born and raised here. And this property you're on right now, the maple, this was passed on to me by my father. So we were relocated here from Mississauga. Most of the men got 100-acre lots. They had to buy it. It wasn't just given to them. They had to buy it from like council or whoever. I guess they had to pay. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but nobody had a whole lot of money back then. And I know how my dad paid for his 100 acres. It's part of this. Right here is renting the fields to farmers, and whatever he got for rent went right to the payment. So, and that's how it ended up in his name.
Wow.
Mind you, we don't actually own any land. We have certificate of possession for all of us. Like we don't. Government still has the say. Growing up, we didn't learn, especially here, hardly any culture. I knew more about Six Nations cultural stuff than, say, a few Longhouse people, because I had to go to school over there for a couple of years too. So
It's not bad. Could be darker. Probably sweet as heck. It was something he was doing, and I told him I would come and give him a hand, and that's what we've been doing. It's just one of those things. I was retired, and I wanted other things to do, and so this was it.
put my pot down that much.
And Mark and I kind of grew up together anyway, so we've known each other ever since we were kids. So
Get a couple of blocks of wood and
put it in the mud. Quit being a suck.
I go through the different steps of this sap. The first boil, like I say, the first boil, the second boil, get it down to how we want it, either the syrup, like this is maple syrup, and if you want candy or sugar, you just keep cooking it, but you gotta know when to shut it off, or you're gonna end up with black burnt syrup. So other people call it a sugar shack, but it's just, I only put it up to keep us out of the elements, because sometimes it gets pretty nasty. Like I have more of these tarps like this one to use as walls. If the wind's coming that way, we might have to put the wall up because it gets so cold and rainy. Like the last 2 days have been really rainy here, but I just call it a shelter. This is a shelter. It's just our spot for boiling maple syrup. Self-taught, like, I mean, I've read stuff and started drilling trees and, shooting and tapping and took it from there. You see it come running out of the hose? Because I used to, for I think 3 years at home, I boiled them on burners, but I used so much propane. I started getting more pails, more buckets. I got, I think, 10 or 12 up in that area. And then last year, Brian wanted to learn how to do it. Not too much. Brian's got that much in it. But see, this is a bigger pail too. But see how I keep the garbage bags over to keep the bugs and stuff out? I keep the rain out too. I try to make sure none of them are overflowing, because yesterday I had 2 or 3 that were overflowing. Nothing to it, just hard work, like especially for my pail there. I don't have my quad. I used to have my quad and a little trailer, and I'll take my big water coolers, and that's all. But the last few days I've been carrying it by that. We work it together and share what we get. And
you know.
Mm.
And like Mark said, it's hard work, but it's enjoyable work too, you know, because you're getting something out of it in the end. You know, so that makes it worthwhile as well. It'll keep us out of trouble.
You see, what I was taught when offering tobacco to the trees, or well, to any plants, like when we're gathering medicines or whatever. Okay, when we offer our tobacco, we give thanks. We'll talk to the trees or the plants, tell them that we're going to use this stuff for it. So because a lot of the women use this for cleansing in the spring as well. Just the sap, they'll drink it straight, just like that. It's like a cleansing. So, but when you offer your tobacco, we give thanks to the Creator for giving us these medicines and teas and foods. And what we do, we place it here, usually on the east side of the tree, where everything begins in the east, from the east. And that's our. And you don't just throw the tobacco. You know, we don't do it at every tree. We give thanks, and we usually, when we start, or I'll do it again when we finish, I'll give thanks for giving us all this stuff. And so it's just our way of saying thanks, like to everything. Like even when we collect grandfathers, the rocks for sweats, we offer tobacco, giving thanks. So tell them, you don't take it all. You take some. Just that's a big thing. Take what you need. You don't take everything.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't tap all the trees either. So the next step after we collect, like tapping, and then we collect. And like I say, we usually get them all going, the fires, and we'll get this. These usually boil really hard, the two with the cast iron pot. This one's kind of a preheater because it doesn't get hot enough to really boil them hard enough. I mean, it does boil, but not hot. And once those go down, we'll take the little pail and dump it into one of these, and then I'll take some from this one, put it in the other one, because this one doesn't get as hot as the little one. And that's sort of the first step to there, to the second step to there. And like I say, it takes, 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup.
Oh my gosh.
And then it's not even that thick.
Yeah.
So if you want it thicker, you got to keep boiling it down. And then this is the one we kind of made into sugar by talking too much instead of watching how low it was getting. Well, I was explaining to Bryan how you make the sugar, and what you do when it's foaming and it's getting yellow and it's foaming near the bottom, you just keep stirring, it'll turn into sugar. I like it. I know a lot of people who do like it, and I give it to them, or I take it and trade for things. Like I said, moose meat, fish, stuff like that. I'll trade. Like a lot of times when I go north, I take corn soup, maple syrup, and usually tobacco, like leaf tobacco, and I'll trade that with guys like because I lived in Thunder Bay for 25 years. See, when I left, I was the only one up there that lied corn to make the corn soup and stuff. So, and that was self-taught as well.
And I used to do it when I was a kid, lying corn.
Oh yeah?
Because I used to have to do it with my grandmother. And this was the pot that we used to do it in. You know, whatever was convenient in the day, you know, whether if you were up north, it would be different than if you were down here. And so the tools that you try to invent for yourself to do the kinds of things you wanted to do could be different than what they did up north or versus down here.
But the traditional foods, that's, other than a few people like around here, there's not many that actually do anything like as far as traditional cooking or harvesting and things like even going out collecting the nuts and the berries that we did as kids, and we had to survive. Like, you know, that was our treat in the wintertime, hickory nuts or walnuts, you know, stuff like that. Like I said, when we were kids, we used to suck on the trees. We'd see the syrup and, oh, that's good, you know, and we kind of knew it was sap, but we said syrup. It wasn't syrup, it was just a sap. But yeah, we used to maybe hit it with an axe or a knife too, and, you know, maybe stick a straw, like weed, not a straw, and suck.
Wow.
When it was running good, you could get a good drink. Like you see in the one we tapped, as soon as it, and some of them will really just come shooting right out as soon as you tap it. But
our culture and our language was taboo. And now I'm glad to say we have it in our daycare, and it's going right up to grade 8, the native language. The residential schools, the policy was to take the Indian out of the child. A lot of them would do it in hiding and talk their language, and so that's why we lost a lot of our culture and everything. And I'm glad there's guys like Mark and Peter and other people in our community that are trying to revive that, especially our native language, because language is what makes you who you are, and without that, you know, it's tough to identify yourself.
That's all I can say is it's here, use it. You know? I don't mean go trespassing on other people's property, but yeah, it's here, and that's what it's for. This was one of the foods given to us by the Creator, so yeah, it's here, we use it.